This is Steve Pogue on the call.
Hi, Steve. It's Gary Abram.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Is Bob's screen showing up on your computer?
I'm getting there. I'm
Okay.
I just needed to hit the login button, I think, so it's working on it.
Okay. There may be some sort of link that you have to link to, but also I'm told that we haven't started sharing yet, so hopefully we don't have any technology issues this morning. There's always some likelihood that somebody won't be able to get in. We'll record it. Steve, you still there?
I am.
Okay, good. I was so quiet. I have these technological nightmares sometimes.
Oh, we're good.
Bob, are you sharing your screen yet? No, we haven't started sharing it yet. There's 7 people on.
I still have a minute or so before 9. I think we'll wait till a little bit past time before we probably get started. That way, make sure we get everybody once in the call.
All right, good. Thank you. Is that your phone?
Thanks to you folks who joined us so far. We're still getting some participants to give a little time here to get a couple other folks to join in, but we'll be starting here shortly. You should be seeing, if you've signed in through the Zoom app on your computer or device screen, you should be seeing the talk logo, and that'll be where we'll see our presentation for today. So hopefully you've had a chance to download the Zoom app and get it up and running. We've got a couple of minutes past 9. Why don't I go ahead and get us kicked off for today, and we may have a few others that will join us as we get going, but do want to, value the time of those who are able to make it here at the 9 o'clock start time. So this is Steve Pogue. I'm with the Kansas Hospital Association and the Kansas Health Service Corporation, and I'm excited to present the first webinar for one of our new vendor partners, which is Talk. This is an application that's been put together specifically for the healthcare industry, as we were looking for ways, both with KHA and with KHC, for hospitals to retain their employees. We know that getting new employees and keeping them on the job and working successfully is not always an easy task, but we were able to find what we believe is a partial solution to how you might be able to retain your employees through kind of a fun and interactive application called Talk. And we're excited to see how this can be used in our hospitals across the state. It's already been implemented in a hospital in the Kansas City region. They're seeing some real good feedback in terms of reduction in turnover and all the costs that comes into play. So it's pretty easy to see a return on investment from this. And the nice thing is it's very adaptable to your organization. You can implement it within one department, or you can do it system-wide. And the way in which you provide a reward system is also very flexible. So hopefully you'll see that as we go along. And I will now turn it over to Gary Avram, who is part of the group that developed Talk.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Steve. We're excited this morning to introduce Talk, hopefully to some new people. We're certainly appreciative of all the great feedback that we got in Wichita last week from the HR conference. What I'd like to do is just talk a little bit about the history behind Talk. I'll be very brief. Introduce my partners, Brian Finucane, who will take us through the demo. Brian's the architect on the application. He also teaches data analytics at UMKC and Rutgers. And then Bob Rippentrop, who is former CEO of a number of companies, strong background in finance and operations, and he will be likely your first point of contact. Talk came out of an experience that I had as a board member on a hospital here in the Kansas City area. The hospital had 200 nurses. The CEO is a former nurse and CNO, and now CEO. And during a board meeting, the topic was nurse retention and the cost of turnover. And it was immediately evident to me that we had a multi-million-dollar problem in our hospital with 200 nurses. I asked Deb if she wouldn't mind turning me loose to work with our development team to see if we couldn't come up with a mobile application that ostensibly at the time would turn the tide as it related to turnover and towards retention. Deb Anutka, our CEO, is a huge believer in culture and engagement and what we call the power of gratitude. Research over the last couple of years has really led to indisputable evidence that gratitude has a huge impact on personal emotional health. It has a huge impact on the culture of an organization. It has a huge impact on engagement, retention, and ultimately it helps with performance. So that was our mission. Could we build something that could be delivered by a mobile device that would help us start to turn the tide with respect to turnover? So we launched it now 2 years ago in Nurses Week, when turnover at the hospital was in the 20s. Within 6 months, it was down to mid-teens, and we've had continuing feedback from not only that hospital but others in terms of the impact that it's had on on culture, and on retention. Before I turn it over to Brian to do the demo, I guess I want to talk about 3 questions that seem to always come up, and I want to address them before the demo, just so that you'll have your mind maybe set on why to do this, and rather than perhaps some of the questions we get on why not. One of the questions that invariably comes up is, and you'll see this as we go through the demo, do people take advantage of the system? Do they cheat? Do they do things to reward themselves? It's really out of the boundaries of what we're trying to accomplish. And the answer is, we've had a few humorous episodes, but for the most part, due to the transparency of the device or the application, people don't do it. And typically, people I think in your hospital settings are not the folks that are trying to take advantage of the system. Another question that comes up is around the idea of how much time does it take, because we recognize that people in hospitals are, that's one of the things that they never have enough of is time. Once this is set up, it is very, very do it yourself. It runs itself, and there's not a time commitment. I want to make an offer this morning as you think about using this in your hospitals. Although Nurses Week is only a couple of weeks away, if someone would commit this week, we think we can. We're certain that we can get the application up and running in your hospital by Nurses Week coming up here in a couple of weeks. The last question is, how much does it cost? Typically, we have a retail price of $5 per employee per month. We came up with a special pricing for the conference last week, and we want to use that through the next 30 days. But rather than $5, you can have the app for $2 per employee per month, and we'll honor that pricing for the next 30 days. So the cost of the application is modest. The return on investment, when you think about, for instance, in the nursing world, the folks from Comp Data that were at the conference last week said that when a nurse turns over, typically it costs 75% of the annual compensation every time there's a nurse turnover. So we would like to hear from you as soon as possible. If you'd like to have this installed by Nurses Week, we'll need to move quickly. As I said, we'll guarantee that price for the next 30 days, and we'll make every effort, and I think we'll be very successful with your cooperation to get things up and running very, very quickly. So my call to action for you all today, and I think Steve will reinforce this, is that if this is something that you'd like to try, reach out to us quickly, and we'll move forward with the setup, et cetera. I want to turn it over to Brian Finucane, who will quickly take us through the demonstration of the features of the app and the dashboards and analytics. Thanks, Steve, and everyone online.
Thanks, Gary. So this is Brian, and I appreciate the introduction. We have an agenda on the line.
Hey, Brian, you're a little far away from the microphone.
Okay, is that any better?
Yeah, much better.
Okay. So we have an agenda up. We just went through some introductory remarks, and we're going to give a quick overview kind of the program itself to kind of build on some of the remarks Gary made. And then we're going to do a quick view of the app. We'll also walk through the analytics portion of it, and then we'll leave some time for Q&A at the end. So as Gary kind of gave you a quick overview of the introductory remarks, the program overview is one that's focused on really understanding the 3 pieces of engagement. And one is kind of the peer-to-peer element of engagement. And for that, we've developed a program where people can engage and recognize each other for the work they do, outside the purview of management, outside, sort of formal review processes. But it's an opportunity for people who see and benefit from help from their peers to recognize each other. The second element of this is our checklist, and the checklist piece of it allows you to set goals, align those goals to your overall performance, and then be able to monitor the accomplishment of those goals through our checklist, et cetera. We then have other pieces, which are spot awards and performance appraisals, which we won't spend quite as much time on today, but we'll be happy to go through that in more detail as needed. Okay. So really, TALK is a suite of 4 products, and we're going to really go into depth on 2 of those products today, which is the application and the analytics component. So with that, I'm going to flip over to our website, and this is really available through talkpoints.com. Our app is also freely downloaded through the Google Play and the Apple App Store. It doesn't require any IT setup. It can be set up and run basically by the nurses. They can download it to any smartphone. If they don't have a smartphone or prefer not to download the app, it can be accessed through talkpoints.com, coming to the app login page. And as you can see on the screen, you'll get the same user experience you would if you were using the application on your phone. So this also helps those that perhaps don't have their phone with them on the floor. Other implementations that we've delivered are using essentially kiosks with an iPad or a tablet in the device and putting that into a workroom or a break room, and people are able to access it that way as well. So there's a lot of different ways we can implement the solution, so our goal is to try to make it as convenient as possible so that people can get to the app, see the news feed, and be able to take advantage of the program. So I'm going to log in now as a user who is a staff nurse at this level. Now, each of these, there's 3 levels of logins, and I have an administrator login, which has the most permissions. I have a manager, which has a medium level of permissions, and then my staff level login has a subset of that. So we have 3 levels that we can play with here. I'm going to log in as a user, which is at the staff level, to give you a view of what that experience appears to be. And then we will, if needed, we can answer questions by rolling up into some of the other levels of permission. So you'll notice as I log in that each hospital will receive an ID code, which is our group ID. And that puts your information into a separate and isolated database, which is fully HIPAA compliant. So we do that to make sure that, unlike Facebook, we don't commingle anything in any way. We keep all the data separate. And it's also always your data. So if you want to delete it or purge it, those are all options that you have. And so you have full control over your own data. And when you log in, you'll see that the first thing that comes up is a Facebook-style news feed. And so what you're able to do is post pictures, post event item, news items, let people kind of see what's going on the ground floor of the facility, and allow people to kind of recognize each other, even through events or just through activities. So as Nurses Week approaches, if you would like to recognize a team, if you'd like to post information about a picnic or upcoming forum or something that you're doing to recognize nurses, you can post that out on the news feed and allow them to see it quickly on their phone. One of the key components of the news feed is these talk cards, which is a thank you card, as I'm showing you with my mouse. In this case, Susan is recognizing work that Cindy has done, and this is our demo environment, so this isn't real data. But Susan's recognizing Cindy for teamwork, and she can give a quick message for that. And so when going into the app, she's able to select Susan from a drop-down, pick her name, and then give her a talk. And when she selects a talk, she's able to select a series of items for teamwork or other values that you want to reinforce through your organization. And so this talk, when awarded to Cindy, allows Cindy to earn points. So she both gets points in recognition for going the extra mile and helping out her team members, She gets the recognition that comes with being on the news feed for the work that she's done, so that others that maybe don't get to see her on a regular basis can see the type of work that she's doing and how she's helping others. And then she's also able to take advantage of those points through the leaderboard as well as some of the redemption features. So the news feed is really where we find a lot of people spend the most of their time, and the number of talks that are awarded between participants is really a lot higher than we ever expected when we first implemented, as Gary described, the goals of the original program. So the news feed is really something that's been very popular with our users and has grown over time. And so to demonstrate how you would give a talk and how easy it is, I can come into my More tab, click on Give Talk, select a name such as Amy that I'd like to give a recognition to, or Beth. I can pick any of these. So as you launch your hospital, this is a set of items that you can select on your own and make it align to the hospital values or the goals that you may already have in place. And then I can put in any sort of message and go ahead and give a talk, and that'll post out to our news feed. So if I come out to my news feed now, you can see that I've given that to Beth Jones for our demo, and it's out there instantly for people to be able to see and congratulate Beth on the work that she's done. So the news feed, as I mentioned, is one part of the engagement program, and it really helps to understand how people are working together and the level of teamwork within the organization. And what we find is that a lot of hospitals have a program like this, but they may be doing it using thank you cards or Post-it notes or bulletin boards, things of that nature. What's nice about this is it gives you an opportunity to put it right in your hand. Some people choose to do it after work, so they may be sitting on their couch after a shift and they're looking through the news feed, and as they see that they've been recognized, they take the opportunity to recognize others. So it really makes it very convenient in taking down one of the barriers to those programs that exist with a sort of a paper solution. So the other piece that I mentioned at the overview was that you're also able to kind of take hospital or team objectives and build that into the app so that people will be, you raise awareness of the goals and the behaviors that you're looking to encourage. And we accomplish that through our checklists. And so every day, nurses are able to come in and take a look at new activities that they've performed and see what types of things they could do in order to earn extra points. So for example, if there's an opportunity to float to another unit, the nurse can come in and click float to another unit. And when they click that, they can submit that and earn points for that activity. The list and the points are totally set by you. We have a database worth of options from our other customers that we'd be happy to provide, but this checklist is set up either by a team, by a department, or by experience level. And so what we found is that some people want to set up, for example, a new nurse or a new staff member with a set of tasks that are different from perhaps an experienced nurse or staff member. You can customize this, at the start of the program, and then we allow the administrator levels to customize it as things go on. So if you want your chief HR representative or your chief nursing officer or any key executives, administrators to be able to add tasks, they can do that through the app themselves. We'd certainly be happy to do it on your behalf, but we made it easy so that you can have full control over the application. And one of the things that we've seen used is adding things like flu shot. Going into the app and adding a flu shot is a very simple task, and it's something that allows you to keep the list fresh and then allows people to realize every time they come back in that there may be something new on the checklist for them to accomplish. So overall, the other thing I'd like to mention is that we've talked a little bit about nurses, but this department level checklist is something that can be applied really at any department. It can be hospitality, it can be the pharmacy, it can be the cafeteria workers. It could really be any group in the organization that you would like to incentivize and recognize for the work that they've done that kind of goes above and beyond the daily call of duty. Right? So I've given you sort of two ways that the hospital can help encourage engagement. So one option is through peer-to-peer recognition and gratitude. The second is through hospital incentivized behaviors. And really, both of those things come together to earn points. And the points become essentially the currency within the app. And we really track that in a couple of ways. So Gary mentioned the transparency that comes with points, but we're able to come in and keep track of a full company leaderboard where every month we're basically running a new contest to see who can earn the most points. And so those points allow people to kind of jockey for position, have friendly rivalries that emerge between departments. And we keep track of all that through our leaderboard at a hospital level as well as at a department level. So you can come in and look at who's winning, the individual department contests. And so many of our customers do things around recognizing their monthly winners and, maybe rewarding them for the effort that they put in. And that's basically a result of doing the extra hard tasks such as floating or working over grid or coming in on an off day or taking an extra shift. Those are the types of things that people earn points for, and that's how you win in the monthly contest. The other thing that we allow the points to do is take the value that you provided at a hospital and receive some additional benefits for it. And so we have a full redemption center that we've made available through the app that we think is really kind of the best of its kind. And it's really great for a couple of reasons. It's great because each of these buttons here, vacation time, specials, raffles, or catalog, can be configured and set up by you. So if you would like to turn on some of these features, we can either turn on this button or turn it off based on what you would like your program to be. And this is where we help you manage your recognition budget. Right. So what we're allowing you to do is to say, do I want to set a budget per employee? Do I want to set a budget for the department? Do I want to set a budget for my hospital? And then we can work with you to set the points and set the recognition program up so that you always stay within your budget. And we will guarantee that you don't go over your budget. And if you do, we will eat that cost. That's on our job is to manage the program on your behalf so that you don't have to worry about giving a talk and recognizing people for points. We take on the burden of making sure that all that comes together at the end of the year and that you stay within the budget that you've set. And so one of the ways we do that is we offer things like raffles. So great opportunity to give away cash prizes. People redeem points for tickets in those raffles. We set those up for different events. We can set those up for concerts. We can do things that we have set up with local relationships in the Kansas area, certain Kansas vendors and stores and change. So those are opportunities we have to put together sort of special things. And one of the things we do for Nurses Week is generally we offer a raffle a day. And so we put together a raffle a day so that as people earn points, they can almost get sort of immediate recognition for the points and activities that they're earning. We also offer a series of specials that will change over time. And so we can work with sort of local vendors and other things that, that didn't load very well, but we can work with local companies to provide specials on your behalf. And we can even work through your gift shop or provide sort of branded merchandise that you'd like to offer for your hospital. We can do that through our specials also. We do have a full catalog available. So the full catalog is an Amazon-style redemption catalog where you can come in and shop across a number of categories. What you'll see is that we have thousands of items that are located in here. Obviously, our gift cards tend to be some of the most popular, but you can come in here and redeem your points just through the application. Whatever you redeem it for will be shipped directly to your house. So you can select any item through the catalog. It'll be drop shipped in 5 to 10 business days. And then you can also even send it to friends or relatives. So if you'd like to do it as a present for something, you can come in for a baby shower, redeem your points, and send something off to a relative, or just like you would through Amazon. So this option obviously is available, and we're happy to turn that on and then help you manage the points appropriately so that the redemptions stay within the budget that you've set. So really, the redemption side of the program is intended to provide people with the value that they would hope to get out of it. And as Gary mentioned at the top of the call, we really sat down with our focus groups and tried to understand where did other programs like this go wrong in the past. And one of some of the feedback we got was that, you know, the points earned and the recognition earned really had very little like tangible value to the individuals that were earning it. And over time, you know, they sort of accrued too many of these things that it didn't make a difference. So we wanted to provide as many options to people as possible to constantly keep it fresh and to give people a way to really benefit in their own fashion. So if they want to save their points, they can save up their points and buy a lot of raffle tickets, buy a big item on the catalog. If they're looking to do certain things quickly, they can go out and redeem for gas cards or quick debit cards or something like that, you know, allows them to kind of view their points in sort of a more instant version of benefit. So that's essentially the redemption side of things. And so the program at the app level is really about, you know, getting people engaged where, you know, we're finding more and more hospitals and more people are spending time is within the mobile device and within in their rounds. So we try to encourage that and build into essentially that momentary feedback of understanding, you know, if you've done something great, we want to provide that feedback and recognition as close to the event as possible, and then provide meaningful rewards that go along with it. So that's the big picture around the application. And I'm going to pause briefly just to see if there's any questions or anything else that someone would like to dive into with some more detail. Okay, I'm not hearing any questions come through, and if you want to submit a question, there's a chat feature within Zoom as well. If you'd like to use that, we'll also check that at the end of the call and make sure that we circle back and answer any questions that you might have.
Just real quick, I know the instructions came on that the lines were muted when we first came on, so if you need to unmute your line manually, if you called in on the phone, it's *6.
Thanks for clearing that up. I appreciate that, Steve. All right, we'll give it one more minute and see if there's anyone else that's trying to find the star button. Okay, so what I want to segue now is walk you into the analytics side. So we talked a lot about what essentially happens at the data capture layer. And then the question came up is that we're capturing a lot of information. What could we do with that information to make improvements? And Gary really emphasized that, you know, one of the key benefits of the program is around reduction in turnover. There's a strong financial benefit within the nurse ranks in reducing turnover. And we tried to collect the data that allow you to kind of view the program, make sure that it's accomplishing the goals that you had intended. And then we also provide a proprietary employee engagement model that will help intercede and prevent turnover. And so I'm going to switch over to that side of the program now and give you a brief overview of the analytics that come along with the application. So I'm logged into my dashboard here, and each hospital will get a set of standard dashboards and then have the opportunity to do two things. You can customize the dashboard to set up specific charts or metrics that you want to track. So if you have an engagement or a turnover metric that you would like to track through the dashboard, we can include that. We can also include benchmarks. And so one of the things that we think is a real benefit of partnering with KHA is that we're able to kind of engage with many of the hospitals in Kansas that perhaps fit similar profiles and create peer groups and benchmark groups that will allow us to do comparisons on certain behaviors and engagement levels. So we think that's a real benefit that is something we haven't offered and something that would be unique to the hospitals within Kansas, given the relationship we have with KHA. So there's several tabs that I have preloaded under the standard analytics package. And what we're seeing here essentially is a reflection of our newsfeed. So that same newsfeed I showed you on the app comes through in a data view, which allows me to essentially kind of quickly understand what's going on in the hospital. And this is an opportunity for nurses or for managers that maybe come in on a Monday morning and they want to look at something and say, you know, what was happening over the weekend? What happened over the night shift? And quickly you get a sense of, was there a particular surge that came on and that we had to respond to? And some people, you know, worked super hard over the night shift because of what they were confronted with. You can also take a quick view of how those efforts were recognized by teammates. and really take this information on the floor with you when you make rounds. And so this is something that administrators have appreciated, is now when they're out on the floor, they're able to have real meaningful interactions with staff and employees where they can thank them for the work they put in on that shift all over the weekend, and really build that sense of recognition and gratitude within the culture. The other thing that's great is all the dashboards are interactive. So while I'm tracking things like, the top talk receivers, which is hard to say, or those who are giving the most talks or giving the most recognition, I can come in and take a quick look at what those might be for something like teamwork. I can quickly filter on that. I can also filter in by an employee and see, essentially if this is the top receiver of talks and who's getting the most recognition. I can come in and see who's been awarding them those talks, and I can see how distributed that is over the hospital, right? So what it gives me an opportunity to see like the overall effect an employee has, right? So one great employee can really make a huge difference within the culture and the organization. And understanding who's recognizing peers and who's being recognized in peers is a great way to understand who those stars are in your program, so that you can come and you can give them the recognition and praise that they really need. So the dashboard on the newsfeed is just one piece of the standard package. The other thing we obviously track for you is trends on points. And so we take a daily view of what points are being earned, how many users are accessing the system. We track all those metrics so that you get a sense for just the budget implications and where things are going, but also understanding, essentially what's engagement looking like within that checklist. So are the behaviors you set up being delivered each and every day? Do you need to rethink some of the items on your checklist? How do you encourage those items to really be done? Can you incentivize them better? And so that's where this trend allows you to do, is kind of understand, where are points being earned? How active are people within these behaviors that you're encouraging? And then see that over time, so you get some sense of seasonality that comes along with it. We also provide a real-time view of the leaderboard. So this is just the same view as what we saw in the app, but it builds on it so you can filter out by department. So I can take a look at, a nursing department, understand who's scoring points. I can take a look at management departments, and the chart on the right allows me to see those monthly results. So I can see who's finished in the top 25 and how often. I can see who's finished in the top 10, who's won their department contest, and who's won the company contest in the past. So we keep track of that. So at the end of the year, you can recognize to see, are you seeing the same people going above and beyond on a regular basis? On the redemption side, we naturally track, essentially the items that are earned and how many points have been redeemed and what's available. And we're tracking each item that is redeemed through the program. So this is an opportunity for us to kind of give you some feedback. But just as important is all this data allows us to remind individuals in the program the benefits they get. So we have an email server that will send out a monthly newsletter that says, these are all the recognitions you've received from peers. These are the items you've redeemed, or the rewards that you've gained through the program, so that we're constantly reinforcing that the hospital and the program is giving you true benefits, and we're letting you know each and every month that we remember you and that you're important to the mission and the organization. So this is just one area of what we can do to customize and provide that feedback back to your users. I also mentioned a little bit around sort of our custom employee engagement score. And one of the things that we try to do is we try to keep a list of all our employees out there and be able to kind of track in on some key details, right? So I can filter down by department, or I can filter it down at an employee level, and I get some quick overview information. So let me walk you through what's included on this chart. So one of the key focus areas that we want to come to is this engagement score. And some folks may do an annual engagement survey or something with Press Ganey to kind of understand the engagement level within for the employees. And really, that's kind of a survey-based approach. And so a lot of times what you're hoping is that you catch people in the right mood, perhaps, or that people are honest and they're accurately reflecting their personal feelings. But we'll realize that those surveys are a point in time. And what we want to try to understand is engagement varies throughout the course of the year. And we really want to try to track that as best we can and track it at a level where we're not just asking people, are you engaged or are you not engaged, right? What we're trying to do is understand, how is engagement reflected in action? And so we calculate this engagement score using the following features. So we identify the number of times managers have given you a spot award. So within the app, if a manager sees a department like the emergency department has gone above and beyond for a day and really handled a surge well, they can give that whole department bonus points on the spot. And so that's an opportunity for you to receive a spot recognition either as an individual or as a team. And so we track how many times you've benefited from that. We also track the number of times you've given a talk to some of your peers, or the number of times your peers have rewarded you with a talk. And so all that information, as well as the key tasks that you've completed, go into this engagement score. So we track on a daily basis, and this number will change each day as we kind of see what you're doing within the application. And then we track it based on sort of a red or green status. And the important thing is to see the trend over the course of the year. So in this example, right, so if I expand my chart, I can see that I have a little bit of a trough that emerges sometime around January. And that kind of reflects maybe a very natural ebb and flow in terms of how people are engaged within the hospital. Around holidays, you may have things where you've gone on vacation, you may have scheduling issues, you may have other concerns or home concerns that you're dealing with, but it gives us an opportunity to have what we call a stay interview. And a stay interview is an opportunity to work with the employee to understand, hey, you've been really highly engaged throughout the course of the year. The engagement's dropped off a little bit. Is there anything we can do to help, more flexible scheduling? Can we put you in the float pool for a while? Is there something we can do that might give you the rest or the recognition that you need for the stuff that you're trying to deal with? And this is an opportunity to refresh employees and also show that you care. And we found that in that case study we provided you around St. Mary's, that's really what has helped drive turnover and reduce that to a level where you're really recognizing and rewarding those best employees. Okay? So again, these analytics are customizable. So we can include anything that you may have within your hospital that you would like to see on a dashboard. So we know some hospitals may have a hard time surfacing data, so we do have the ability to integrate into an EMR system such as Cerner or Epic to be able to extract some data if that's something that you would like to do. We have the ability to take the analytics package and really stretch it to meet your overall strategic goals. So those are kind of the key elements that we'd like to highlight. We don't have a benchmark survey to show you today, but as Gary was mentioned, we would love to be able to try a 5 or 10 hospital peer set that we could cut by size, cut by the number of nurses, allow you to kind of slice and massage the data so that you can track things like employee engagement and get a comparison for your facility. We know that there's a lot of work that happens in rolling up, HCAP scores and other things of that nature. And we think that this is a good leading indicator to how a lot of that information and those outcomes will play out for the main survey points throughout the year. So Gary's given me the hook here and indicating that we probably should offer an opportunity to do some questions and answers. So with that, that's kind of the formal overview and demo. I'll hand the mic off here and to the crowd first and see if there's any questions and that we can help answer or dive into.
I'm going to jump back.
Maybe some feedback from the group of what they see as some positives for this app, or maybe areas that they aren't sure are being addressed. So if there's any questions or comments like that, that might be helpful for helpful feedback for the folks here.
Steve, am I off mute?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Really quickly, let me hit some high points while we wait for some questions. Want to reemphasize that it's good for the entire hospital. It's not just nurses, so we can build it for all employees. It's fully customizable right down to every department. It's time effective, time efficient. It can be all self-service. It's really cost effective because we're going to help manage all the costs. The return on investment probably jumps off the page for most people as it does reduce turnover, but importantly, it increases engagement. There's a lot of concern nowadays, particularly in the hospital setting, about burnout and resilience, and we know gratitude has an impact on resilience. Our pricing structure, we're not desperate. We've reduced the price because Steve's a great negotiator, but mostly we want to partner with Kansas and the Kansas Hospital Association to create a benchmarking system. We'd love to take it to neighboring states, but Kansas is our first really great opportunity. It is fun. We get a lot of feedback around, there's a phrase out there people use called gamification, but mostly it's fun. One of our CEO partners, Gordon Docking, calls it the millennial app because it seems to resonate with folks in that age group. The last thing I would say is that if this demo has been helpful, but you might need to expose it to somebody else in your hospital to make a final decision, just reach out. We're happy to do that. If you'd like to move forward immediately, reach out to through the email that you got from Bob, or even if you just ping Steve and let him know that you want to move forward, we'll be right there. So, Steve, I want to turn it back to you for final comments.
Right, sure. Thanks, Gary. I'm always impressed with the robustness of this app, as it's it's amazing to me that it's not been launched all that long. It's not it's been in the market for about a year or so, and yet they've got all these tools behind it, and obviously it's very customizable. It fits all sizes of facilities. So yes, it works great in a hospital where you have a nursing group of 200. It also works great in a hospital where you have 100 employees, because in those smaller facilities, there's a lot of folks who are working together as one big team. So I'm very happy that we're working with Talk, and we hope that we can get this implemented out into the marketplace. We're also, it's very generous of them to lower the introductory price to kind of, what they, to make sure they see proof of concept here. We do believe it's something that not just Kansas hospitals, but many hospitals across the country can take advantage of. So as Gary said, if you would like to, continue moving forward with this, get a hold of me, get a hold of Gary or Rob, and we'd be happy to help you out getting you started and, get this implemented in your facility. So if there's no other questions, I'll pause for a second and make sure we didn't have any, and then otherwise we'll just be about wrapped up. Any other questions we can answer? All right. Well, again, thanks everybody for your time today, and hopefully this is something that you can consider implementing within your hospital, and we look forward to catching up with you in the future. Thanks a lot, folks, for presenting.
Thank you very much.